All right. Welcome to the very first episode of IT with Fatima. That's me, where we discuss everything IT, everything related to IT, and what is IT about. And today we have someone who knows a lot more about it than I do. So, who are you?
Hi, my name is Johannes Verwijnen, and I'm happy to be married to the beautiful woman above. And I've been in IT my whole life, so from my late teens onwards. So I think I am somewhat of an expert on the topic.
And that's exactly what we need because I'm quite the opposite. My knowledge of IT is that I know what it stands for, that IT means information technology. And obviously, as someone who was born in the 19s, I'm very aware with technologies and how to use computers and how to use social media, but I don't really know the coding part, the what's behind the scenes, so to say. So yeah, so I would say I'm pretty safe to say that my information is very limited. So it's good to have an expert on this area. And I think we should start from that point because as someone who doesn't really know anything or knows very little, I know little about coding or IT or everything related to it. And right now we're not talking about social media platforms and the user experience, but we're talking about the behind the scenes stuff. So, what would be the first things or the most important things? Let's say three most important things. Someone who's just starting their maybe learning path in IT or is thinking about like starting a new career path regarding IT. What would be the three most important things that I should know, or anyone with as little information as I have should know?
Yeah, good question. Kind of everybody needs to know IT, right? So it's kind of during the past 20 years, it's become obvious that one can't live a normal life without IT, right? Nowadays, you need to interact with the government using different kinds of websites. Like
Or
it's
at
literally
least it
important.
would be, sorry to interrupt, at least it would be very hard.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah,
very
so
hard.
you need to interact with IT in some way, and like you said, a lot of that interaction that people have is on the end user level. So that kind of IT proficiency is one thing that everybody needs. And this is sometimes difficult, especially for people who are already fairly old, who are not used to using IT services. So that would say I would say would be kind of the first thing that you need to be aware of what a computer is, what a mobile phone is, how to interact with websites, and so on. And this is, of course, self-evident for the younger generation, right? We've more or less grown up with a mobile phone in our hand, so we kind of know how these things work intuitively. So then, kind of maybe the next step to go behind that is to just know a little bit about computers, about what they're really based on. Like there are things like CPUs, there is memory. These are things that we might be kind of vaguely aware of. Like when we're going to buy a new mobile phone, it's going to say that it has this and that many more gigabytes of memory than the previous one that you had. But often we don't really know the details of what those things really mean, right? So that would be
Right.
kind of the next part, and that helps you again understand maybe IT purchases. Like when you get your next computer, you really kind of know what these numbers mean. And then the third part would be to kind of go behind the scenes to actually creating something. Maybe understanding a little bit about programming logic. This doesn't need to be any specific programming language. It could be something as simple as just, you making a robot go around a virtual map, right? Something
Right.
very simple, just
Right.
giving simple directives to a computer
Right.
Because that already kind of tells you what programming is
Right.
about.
Can I stop you for a second?
Absolutely.
Uh there's I think that there's this barrier of like, at least for me, I can't speak for others, but for me it's like when I think of someone who knows coding or knows computers, I'm thinking of like these smart people, the geniuses. Like when I think about people who know computers, I immediately think about people like you, who I'm very lucky to be married to, but like the smart people, like not the, like if I go back to my school years, I think everybody can relate to the fact that when you're in a class setting, you have the smart people and the people who might not know that they're smart but aren't more or less so focused on the school. So it's like you think that it's those people, it's the smart people who know and will go further with IT or whatever. And it's us who don't know, who never knew, who will not succeed. Or like, what's the point of learning if the whole path of IT and computing and coding is for the geniuses if you don't feel like you're a genius? So like
This is a good
what
point,
does
but
one
that's not
do?
true. That's not true. So this was true like back in the 60s, right? When computers didn't really exist anywhere, except in very large corporations or universities, and you like literally had to be like a postgraduate student to be able to access a computer. Like normal students wouldn't even be allowed near them. And somehow that kind of picture or image has been projected into today as well, right? Whereas nowadays, like a lot of the coders, programmers, are actually just self-taught. They don't have any formal education. And now, before we go down that path, I'm going to tell you that that's not the best option, right?
Right. And we're gonna talk
So
about later like what could be the possible
yeah. So, but you
falls
definitely you
that
don't
happens.
need to have a degree in computer science to be able to become a good programmer. But it'll help you
Right,
if you have it,
right,
right?
right.
You
Let me
can
just
learn anything by yourself.
right. Let me just clear that point for a little bit. Like, I think later on we can talk about a little bit like the issues that could come along if you just self-taught. That doesn't mean the skills you gain aren't valuable, but like it's to say that let's talk about later about the benefits you get when you go into the community of coding, when you learn with others and from others. And okay, so before I forget, I have to point out this one thing before you continue. Continue your point, and after that, can you tell us like what? Why do we talk about coding languages?
Yeah.
Like, what's the difference? What? Why is there coding languages? What's the yeah? For now,
Yeah,
continue.
yeah, cool. So just kind of finishing my previous thought, eh, you can absolutely learn anything online nowadays. Just take video courses, and you will become a programmer that can earn salary with programming for somebody. That's a job. It's totally doable without a university degree. But going like rewinding a bit towards
Let me
what is
get my
programming?
co-host here.
Yeah,
Wait.
what is programming, right? What are programming languages? So um, whenever one learns programming, there are different languages that you can use to do that. And what programming is basically creating instructions for the computer to do on your behalf. Whatever program you're using, a web browser, word processor, anything like that has been programmed by somebody using a language, telling the computer what to do if a user presses this button, what to do if this and this thing happens. Now, there are different languages that you can use to accomplish that. And in principle, all of the computers very down deep on the chip level run basically binary code. So it's machine language. There are
What's
instructions
that?
in there are instructions in the CPU in the chip that you can call. And that's basically what machine language is. But this is very simple commands, like add this number to that number. A little bit like your pocket called calculator only, right? And it's really difficult to see how that will result in something like a web browser. But that's basically what it is all based on. So because writing programs in that kind of very specific language takes very long, it's very complicated, what has happened is that higher level languages have been developed, where it's easier to kind of say that I want to create a window, and the window should have black borders, and in it I want to have some text with this font, without putting every single pixel onto the screen individually. You have these higher level languages, which then have higher level commands that they then will translate into those lower level commands for the different CPUs. So generally, when people talk about programming or coding nowadays, what we're talking about is one of these higher level languages that give us the possibility to fairly on a fairly coarse level say what we want a computer to do, and then somebody else has kind of solved the problem of how that actually works
Right.
on all the different computers.
Basically, it means that you don't have to go down to the binary coding level and give these very specific instructions to the computer yourself. But because there's a language that someone has already coded a language, kind of like saying that, hey, I already did that for you, so you don't have to do that by yourself, right?
Yeah, and then you can concentrate on solving what we call business logic, right? So kind of how this program is supposed to work without having to work out the details yourself.
Right. And the different languages, is there more like, let's say that I know these off head, like I just know the names like Java, Python, but is there a thing of kind of like, hey, we have this website that we need to be we have to code this website? What does it mean when someone says that, oh, I'm experienced in Python, so I'm gonna do that in Python? What does it mean?
Yeah, so basically when we're creating some interactive website, we have the choice of using different kinds of languages to describe how we want the website to work. And there are plenty of different languages that have different good parts and bad parts. So here we can see immediately JavaScript, which is something that is being used to do mostly the user interface in the browser. Python is over here, very popular, specifically with machine learning and data science types. Java has been a enterprise language for as long as I've been, almost as long as I've been in the industry. C# is nowadays used quite a lot with games programming, using the Unity games framework, and so on and so on. So there are plenty of these languages. However, if somebody calls themselves a real programmer, then it usually means that they can basically use any language. Of course, people are more used to the language that they've been using most. So they kind of know how to write that language without needing to take a look at the documentation. But in principle, programming is the same, irrespective of the language. What you're taking is a big problem, and you're splitting it into smaller problems that you know how to solve individually. And that's basically what a programmer does. And then we just have different languages that we use to express ourselves.
So is there like, you already mentioned that Python is used more in, let's say, machine learning. Are we going to talk about machine learning later? So is there like a language we use more in creating websites and more in when giving instructors to robots? I'm just throwing out concepts.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, like shortly, yes, there are. Just as an example, if we have like small devices like a robot, or maybe like a smart fridge, or small devices like that, then usually they have a smaller CPU on them and less memory. So we can't use many of these high level languages there. We need to do
Because
more.
we need more simple language, so that the chip, um, we need more simple language, so that we are in the range of the chip memory.
Exactly. Yeah. So then you would use maybe something like C or C++, for those kinds of, which is a fairly kind of low level language, but still doesn't talk up to the CPU directly. And that language is usually available for all different environments, so it's an easy choice. Then you said, what else did you say? That was robots. Websites. Websites is pretty scattered. It really depends, and then everybody is an expert in a particular language thinks that language is the best one for websites. So I don't think there is like an objective look. Some people use Python, some people use PHP, others use Java, others use even JavaScript like Node.js for websites. And this tends to change quite a lot. There are these kind of programming frameworks that help you even more by having like pre-made blocks that you're going
Right.
to use in a website, and they are written in a particular language. So if you want to use that programming framework, then you need to write your logic in the same
And what
language.
does it mean to know a programming language? Like, what does it mean when
Yeah,
you said that if you are a good coder, you know all the languages. I mean, not you didn't say that, but it said that if you are good at coding, it's easier for you to pick up new languages, and you can basically, I think you said that, code in any language.
yeah.
So what
Basically,
does it mean when you say, or someone says that I know this language very, very, very well, and I want to code in this language? So it means that they know the specific instructions that the language is giving to the computer, or they right. What does it
so
mean?
let me just show you an example, right? So let's take a couple of different languages, Python and Java here, for example. So the thing is that the syntax of the language is usually not very interesting. There are fairly simple commands that usually look almost the same in all of the different languages. So here we have how variables are declared in Python. So we're saying that x is 12 and y is 10, and that this is true, and then that this greeting is a string called welcome. And then here we see that same thing in Java, right? So it's a little bit different. Like in Java, we need to define that x and y are both integers, whereas in Python just kind of figures that out automatically because we're putting a number in there.
Oh, right. So Python knows stuff that Java doesn't.
Kind of, this is specifically called strong typing in Java, and what that basically means is that we are defining that this is an integer, not because the language wouldn't be able to figure that out itself, but because we want to make sure that nobody can put anything else into this variable than an integer. Because somewhere
So that
else,
it
when we're
may
reading from
true.
there, when we're reading from there, we're kind of trusting that it is an integer. So if there would be something else there, then our program might break down because there was something
Right.
unexpected. Right.
Right.
So that's kind of one of the differences. But you can see that like if you wouldn't know Python or Java, then like these three, four rows, and these four rows look very similar, right?
Right.
So this is what I mean, that it doesn't really matter.
Right.
And you can always look that up in the documentation, like how did I do this in this language again?
Right.
And what people are talking about when they're talking about knowing a language very well is actually not this. It's that they know some libraries or some packages that they have been using in this language previously.
So they
So
know that something works.
they know, yeah, they know something, like with Python, they might know like a web development framework that has been written in Python, and they have been using that for a lot. So it's not actually Python that they know, but that framework. Or if somebody is very good in C#, they might have been using, like I said, the Unity game development kit. So that could be what they actually know, and not necessarily the language itself. But yeah, so that's basically what that means. And like I said, very often, especially in the beginning, people tend to start off learning one language, and then they kind of learn everything the way that it's done in that language. But then as soon as people go over to learn a second language, then they can already generalize. They can already see that, this works the same way as there, it's just written in a different manner. Or
Right.
this shortcut that works over here doesn't work over there, so I need to write it in a different way.
Right.
And then
right.
after 2 or 3 languages, you kind of see that I actually know how to program, right? I don't know a specific language.
So what is, like, I think we need to clear it up. Like, what is programming? What are you doing when you program? Like,
so what you're doing is you're creating a program, a piece of software that does something in a computer. And when you're programming, what you're doing is you're trying to tell the computer how to do that, right? And the computer knows how to do things, knows how to add numbers together. You don't need to teach him that. But if you want to do something like maybe alphabetize something, like you have a number of text and you want to put them into the alphabetical order, then that would be something called sorting. And this is something that you would need to tell the computer how to do. Now, modern programming languages all have that built in. So you don't literally have to tell it. You just say sort, and then the programming language has the best sorting algorithm built in to do that on your behalf. But in principle, that's still kind of what you're doing. You're telling the computer that maybe we're using this text for looking for it, for something in it. And then we know that if they are in sorted order, then we can more quickly find something in there than if they're unsorted. A little bit like playing cards. If the playing cards are in the correct order, you know where to find each card. Whereas if they're in a random order, it can take you ages to find something.
Right.
And that's really what programming is about. Yeah, about knowing this kind of stuff and then telling the computer to implement things in the correct way.
Right. And I think the best part is that it's not this mystery you need to solve. It's like, at least for me, it's like if I don't immediately know what's happening, immediately understand or grasp everything that's going on, I'm like, this is not for me. I'm giving up. I'm not going to frustrate myself and start feeling stupid here, which is a huge trigger for some people to not pursue or continue with things, at least for people who don't have the identity of like being the smart person. So I think what we want to clear here is that the words like programming and coding languages, there's like this veil of mystery to the rest of us, and it shouldn't be there. It's not so hard. And obviously when you start, you don't know things like binary coding. When I started, really, when I heard the first time I heard the term binary code, I was like, yeah, this is like some genius like stuff. This is not for me. And then it was explained to me very clearly that it's just like the binary coding is just like numbers together. It's like a language we give to the computer to understand the commands that we want it to do. It's not, the term binary might sound a little intimidating, but it's literally just, you can even write, let's Google this, like binary coding, like let's show what it is. It's not,
it's basically just what
adding
the
together
computer sees.
numbers. Like you can
Zeros and ones.
you can code yeah, this it's like combination of numbers that you can like you can code Wikipedia. You can write your name in binary code, and it's just like these letters have this combinations of numbers. So
Yep.
it's just literally a language, like English or Spanish.
Yep.
But how it's like, let's just say that it's there's a world that you're in, and there's the world that I'm in. And when I started entering into your world, I'm like, yeah, this is impossible. This is just like some genius math people. Woo. And then I really quickly started to understand that this is just like learning any other thing. This is just like if you never been to gym before and you go to the gym the first time, it's very intimidating. At least for me. Well, at least for me, I think I had this idea of that I'm not one of those people who go to the gym. And the same with the coding. You're like, I am not one of the people who do this stuff. This is hard. And then you kind of talk yourself out of it. So I'm here to tell you with this expert person here that it's not it's there's a lot of like intimidating language that we use that or language that sound intimidating because we've kind of like always had this idea, or last at least I had this idea that it's hard, it's very hard. It's like with math. If you're one of those people who've heard all their life like, I'm not good at math, or my family is not good at math, or I come from a family of not math people, obviously you're not gonna magically someday be like, oh, I'm good at math. So you need to like find someone who tells you like, hey, it's somebody has been lying to us, it's not so hard, the terms aren't impossible to understand.
Yeah, exactly. And again, computer science, like the science that researches how computers work and does stuff like figures out what the most optimum algorithm for doing something is. That is fairly math heavy, and computer science came about as a subfield of mathematics. But you don't need to be a computer scientist to be able to make a living in IT. That's like a misconception, right?
But the
So
point again I want to make is that you might want to go into computer science once you
yeah,
enter the field of IT. Like it's just that the opportunities are literally endless, because more and more every career field is more and more infused with IT. So it's useful to know computer science, but it doesn't have to be scary. It might be something you want to pick up once you enter the field. It can also be like exciting.
exactly. And you don't need to commit to doing something before kind of knowing what IT is about. So you can just
Right,
start with something generic and then see, kind of try different things out and see what makes you feel good, and then follow that path. And then
right,
things in basically any direction in the field of IT, there is quite a deep path that you can take for multiple years to study deeper and deeper knowledge
right.
of that specific subfield.
But that's for later. The deep stuff, the kind of like the more advanced stuff is for later. But for now, like if you're someone who's like, hey, okay, I might want to try out this field that seems to be the future in in a lot of cases, in most of the cases. Um where should I start? There's like so much information everywhere. Just some random guy popped on in our
Not the random guy. Is actually
yeah, I know. I like, yes, but it
show you that it
in the
was Gottfried
context.
Leibniz. But yeah, so a lot of these tech companies have started off programs for that. So we have, for example, a Google IT support system. I'm going to put this link into the show notes. Let's take the English version. No, no.
Google is not friends with us in this moment.
Yeah. Grow.google. Let's try this one. No, it wants to go to the Portuguese version for some reason. Here we go. English Europe. Let's say that one. There we go. So Google has this program where you can do online trainings. Let's see. I want to learn or get started with AI, cloud computing. I want to learn about digital marketing. I prepare for a new job, whatever. Learn coding. Let's say that one. And then they kind of have a program where you could start off with different kinds of online courses to become a coder, or even something simpler. Could be just the IT professional, the IT support professional certificate. This is done together with Coursera. You can do it for free for the content, but then if you want to get the certificate at the end of this training, then you need to pay for this. And there is also financial aid available. So if you don't have suitable income, then they will discount this for you. So this is kind of one idea. The IT support professional certificate is good because it tells you the basics of IT, like how a computer works, how networks work, and all that kind of stuff. And that's already a job, right? So you can then be IT support in a company and then get paid for doing that and
And
continue learning something
I
deeper.
think what's really important is to kind of like show how many jobs is actually available in the field and what is the pay. I think that's the most important. People want to know that. Most
Yeah,
important thing. People
I
want
think
to
we
know
had
that
that in the, was it in the AWS training?
because no one wants to get a certificate, apply for a job if they feel like I'm just gonna be one person not getting the job. So let
Yeah. So in the cloud, there was like over 100,000 jobs currently open for or in the IT field, right? And that's fairly generic. But as our society moves into a more digitalized world, we're going to need more and more people who know about computers and know about cloud. So one of the things that we had in here was Restart by
I think
AWS.
this is a very I think this is a very we're a little bit familiar with this already. I'm very passionate about this because this is kind of what I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is targeted at people who are coming, for example, from the military in US, who are veterans, who might have no other possibilities where they can use their skills. Maybe not for everyone. We know that there's military is a very there's many different jobs you can do, but this is for the people who feel like their skills are maybe a little bit outdated. They're not sure where to start or where to go. So AWS has this restart program, which I think is great because it actually gives like a very a great entry to the field.
Yeah.
And
This one is limited
right.
to certain countries in the world only.
Hey, can we
And
show the text here? Can we? Like, I think this is great. What it's
yeah. So this is just limited to certain countries. So they do this together with employers. So the people who go through this program will have a job at the end of the program, right? So it's kind of guaranteed
so that's
from that.
great.
Yeah, that's great. If you can't make this, or if the schedule is too tight here, or it's not available in your country, then there is also the possibility to do self-study. I think that was it Educate? Yeah. Educate is the one that where you can just do it at your own pace. And then, of course, they don't have those jobs lined up
Right,
at the very
right.
end, but
But this is
still,
also a great way to like get those crucial skills.
yeah, at your own pace, starting from the beginning. And they do have a job board there as well, so you can try to get a job, but it's kind of not as guaranteed, and it's not as much of a kind of a pipeline that directs you to a job. And like I said, Google has kind of similar Google IT training. Maybe for them, it's a little bit more specific, right? So here we have from IT support, the current numbers. This is the Canadian site. So they have 27,000 openings currently, and the
Right.
median salary is like 50K. So
And this is the information I think is very crucial to know when you're starting, that it's actually a field where you can make a normal living.
yeah, and that, totally good living, like
Totally good
for
living.
for kind of a indoors clean desk
Right.
job.
But I think this is great for like if you have like a this is flexible for different situations. People have kids, people have other things that they're doing, they have family members that they need to take care of. Like it's very hard for some people to and almost impossible to some people to just like, oh, I'm just gonna like start a new career path, I'm just gonna change field. So this is actually something that I think is a pretty flexible way to gain those crucial skills and enter a new field from your home computer, from your home laptop. Like what like is there any other field you can actually do this, where you can just like learn the skills you need from your computer,
Yeah,
from your
that's
home?
that's the great thing. It's like democratizing access to the field. Like you said, you don't need to be one of those math geniuses from school to be able to access the field. Basically, all you need is a mobile phone or tablet to go through the videos of these courses, and of course motivation. And it's also not limited to a place anymore. A lot of these jobs can be done remotely, so you can do basically live anywhere, and work globally. That's what we do over at Deep Dives that EU.
Right, right, exactly. And it's like how would I say this, like as someone who is kind of just entering, I'm also learning as I go. And one thing for me, it was like the big thing with the studying, like don't do it if you're tired. Like this sounds something that is so obvious and so like yeah, obvious information, like don't study if you're tired, but don't do it if you're tired. Don't push yourself, because if you're going to push yourself when you're tired or you have a lot of other things going on, like you need to have motivation. But if you really haven't slept, you have a small baby, you have a bunch of other things you need to do, then you need to prioritize those, because learning about new stuff already is hard in itself. But like pushing you towards trying to remember the what the CPU stand for when you're already tired, it's not going to motivate you to go on. So when you're starting, I feel like it's crucial to pick the moments that you really feel good. If you feel like I'm learning at my best when it's in the morning, like d- start then. And when you already have the confidence, you're gonna gain confidence. And when you gain the confidence, then you can learn when you're a little bit more tired. Then you can kind of like take the computer and listen to the lessons with and watching your kids play, and kind of like not be so focused. But when you're starting, focus on the fact that you're feeling good, you're well rested, and you're not gonna like um push yourself 4 a.m. trying to learn if you're right. Yeah, you get my point.
Yeah, it's like when you're self-studying, it's not about showing up like
Right.
at school, right? It's about actually studying, using your time efficiently.
Right. And
as
have a
well.
schedule. That's like the point. That was like a huge thing for me. Like, do set out like a time in a day where you're gonna just study, but pick a moment when you know you're at your best. If it is in the morning, do it in the morning. If it is in the evening when the kids are asleep, or whatever, do it then. But pick a moment and try to be consistent with it, because if you're not consistent with it, you're not going to learn, and then you're going to feel bad, and then you're not going to have the motivation.
Exactly.
All right. What would be like the end words for for my first episode? I think what I want to say is that I'm also like, I'm doing this also for myself a little bit, so that I will be able to learn also as we go. So it's going to be a journey with me into learning IT, because I'm also pretty clueless still, pretty just learning, pretty on the first steps on the field. So I'm very happy to be able to share this journey with people. I hope we get other people here as well, other than just my husband and our co-host baby here listening. But yeah, so it's going to be a journey. We're just beginning. Have we just have begun? And yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird. I never thought I would be here doing this.
Yeah, and if people are watching and have any specific questions, please do comment, and then of course we will take those under advisement in the future episodes, right?
Right. Yeah. If there's anything that comes up to your mind, or you want to know more about IT, coding, specific languages, please do ask. We're gonna answer the questions in the second episode. And yeah, you're gonna see Johannes here a lot, because he's gonna be my go-to guy with everything. And in next episode, I think we're gonna take the next step into the field. We might talk a little bit more about cloud and what's that. And also, I hope we get to speak a little bit about artificial intelligence. I'm really excited about that. I'm just, yeah, I hope we're going to speak about
Cool.
that later. Yeah. Thank you for
Let me study
joining
that
us.
for a week.
And I hope you enter this journey of, we are going to be like the smart people with their computers. Right.
Exactly.
Have a great Sunday. It's Sunday. Or if you're listening this in another day, I hope you have whatever time or day you're having. I hope it's great. And see you on next episode.